Man, I want to talk about '92 when you signed on to Liberty, which was, of course, an extension of Capitol Records. You were in your early 30s. You mentioned you did 6 independent records.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the path to stardom, finally getting a record deal in your 30s. That had to be different, right?
Yeah, I really wasn't interested in getting a record deal. I was killing it, man. I
Yeah.
was living in Athens, Georgia, and it's like all these guys in Texas, you know.
Hmm.
You got a lot of cats out there that are knocking it back and they're doing great and they don't need Nashville.
Right.
They don't need a major label. They're out there living the dream and I was living the dream in Athens, Georgia. Um I had a little built a house and by the time I left there I had 115 acres, 125 acres, something like that. No, 145 acres. 145 acres of land. Um, I had a RV we traveled around in, a truck with gear. Had a great band, and we're just doing our thing. I never even considered going to Nashville, and um, then what kind of changed everything is I was driving home late from playing a club one night, and Joe Diffie song came on, a song called "Ships That Don't Come In."
Love that song. Yeah.
Man, and for the first time, it occurred to me that that's all I'd ever do is play little clubs around Athens, Georgia, and within 150 miles of Athens, and that wasn't sitting well with me, man. I wanted to go play for people in Texas, daggone it.
Hmm.
And so I got home, and through tears, I told my wife about this song of Joe's and how it affected me, and I just we came up with a plan to go to Nashville every every 45 days for a year and do this. We'd send out invitations, get 30 days in advance, go do this industry showcase, wait 15 days, see what we hear and do it again.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that little plan for a year. And we did our first industry showcase in May of '92. And out of that industry showcase, got an invitation to do a private showcase for Jimmy Bowen,
Wow.
president of Capitol. Did a showcase for Bowen. We were done.
Wow.
Next thing I know, we're putting a record together.
Yeah.
So
And like I said, man, like today, age doesn't matter quite as much as I think it did back then. Like it was really unheard of for anybody to get signed outside of their 20s,
yeah,
back in those days. So like I was reading that about you, essentially getting your first record label at 32 or 33 is just that was unheard of back then. So
yeah.
now to hear you say that wasn't even really the plan at first. So that was
No,
kind
I,
of a
I was I was perfectly happy. I was I moved back to that farm in about 2 seconds.
yeah, yeah,
You ask my son. My son lives there in Gladewater. He's where would your dad rather? Where's his favorite place in the world? He'll tell you.
yeah.
A little 100 acres of land, piece of land that ain't mine.
Well, looking back
But
at it, are you happy that you chose to go to Nashville and do all of that?
well, I would have done some things differently.
Yeah,
I would have done it differently. I would have still gone, but I wouldn't have sold my farm.
yeah,
I wouldn't have just changed my entire life. Nothing's worth that to me. It's just not. It's like when people they sell a house and they or leave their families and go to Nat and go to Hollywood, become a star and all that stuff. You know what?
it's
It ain't
risky,
worth
man.
all that.
It's uprooting
Well,
everything, right?
it just ain't worth all that. It's
Yeah,
just is that really what's going to make you happy?
yeah.
You know,
Well, you mentioned
and
you
what
were
makes
going back and forth for a while, every 45 days going to Nashville. At some point, something happened to kind of make Nashville more permanent. Do you remember what that
well,
was?
we had a management company that was talking to us about it. Kept you need to be here, and but when I look back on it now, I mean, I was a pilot. I had my own airplane.
Wow,
I'd leave my house in Athens, and 2 hours later, I'd be in Nashville.
wow.
You know,
So it's like
and
just like being local, essentially.
yeah, I
Yeah,
could be. You call me in the morning and say, hey, look, can you come up here for lunch? And we got a meeting with somebody, if weather was okay, I could do it.
Mhm.
'Cause I was a VFR pilot. I had to fly. I couldn't fly in weather, which I wouldn't fly. I hate flying in weather anyway. But it's one of those things. If I could go back and do it, but then again, I think about it, and there's reasons. Things happen in our lives, and we lived way out in the country. We lived 17 miles from town, and all I can think about is, well, if I hadn't moved, and maybe there'd been a plane crash. Maybe maybe that drive back and forth to 17 miles to town. My
Mhm.
family's in a car going back up and down Highway 106. Something happens to them.
Mhm.
Maybe that's just ways God's way of having things like that be avoided.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't second guess if I'm following God's will for my life. I can't second guess. Too much of decisions that have been made if I'm
Exactly.
following him. So
And trying to make decisions based on an alternate reality is never the way to go either, right? Like it
yeah,
never like you can't make a decision based on something that could have happened or
yeah,
whatever. That just won't
yeah.
be the right way to go.